Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Jamie Dean.
And I'm Scott.
Hey, there he is. And today on Collecting Retro, we are taking a look at a new game. Oh, hang on. I'm going to redo that intro because I got thrown off by a moth that like nearly flew in my face. Hang on, let me try and kill it. Let me do that again. Hey everybody, what's happening? My name is Jamie Dean.
And I'm Scott.
And welcome to another episode of Collecting Retro, a series where we basically just pull something out of our collections off our shelves and have a little bit of a show and tell, a little bit of a look at why we've got it, have a talk about maybe some memories and some stories around the game, and yeah, have a bit of a look through the box in case we've... There's a fucking moth back again. Are you shitting me? Did you see that? It literally nearly flew up my nose.
But that's our intro. That's our intro. For those of you just tuning in, Jamie has got imaginary bugs.
One more time. Today we've got Scott in. Scott's here, and we're going to check out something out of Scott's collection. Scott, what are we looking at today, bud? What are you showing us?
At? Okay, an old favorite of mine, which I had once, lost it. Oh no, stupidly sold it, and got it back again because it was one that's too good not to have on the shelf, and that is good old X-Men Legends.
X-Men Legends for the Gamecube. Oh, the wow. GameCube. X-Men Legends. God, yes, that is a blast from the past.
Damn fucking right. And yes. No, so good. One of my favorite games, the best X-Men game in my opinion.
Yep.
Hands down, without a fucking doubt.
And I think you wouldn't get much pushback on that either, I don't think.
Probably not, considering it's responsible for spawning of so many games.
Yeah. That's like turned into an entire like series of like would you call it a genre birth? Like, was there like, I guess not. I'm trying to think if there were games in a similar style before X-Men Legends.
It's just a squad based RPG.
Is it an RPG? I guess it is. I was going to say like a squad based beat 'em up.
That too, but it's got all these RPG elements like leveling up gear.
Yeah, true. You're right.
Swapping in and out abilities as well. So it's got a lot more to it than just a simple sort of brawler.
Yeah. And it was like a top-down, like an isometric.
Yes.
An isometric party-based brawler that with RPG elements. Now, was there another game before X-Men Legends that did that? I can't think of one. If there was.
Probably. I don't think it was probably, but I don't know it.
Yeah.
And
and I can't think of one that was specifically like that amalgamation of stuff, you know?
Yeah, so you got a little party. There's like 2 or 3 people there, or 4 people.
Yep.
There's a couple more up here. This, interestingly enough, this is your character like ability screen, right?
Yep.
See how Wolverine is on the side there?
Yep.
In the GameCube, that's a screenshot from a different console's version of this game. I think PC.
Oh no shit!
On the GameCube version, it's too much to render Wolverine, particularly in that high definition. So he's not on there. You just have the screen of his stats with his little portrait.
They've just like photoshopped him in there for the screen of the back of the box.
Like so if you just that's what you see.
That's what you see.
That's what you see on when you actually look in game.
Cheeky fuckers.
Yeah. I think the Wolverine there is for like I don't know if it's PlayStation 2 version or it might be PC, but yeah.
Yep. How long now? This is, you would have, knowing you, this is your copy from when you owned the GameCube and the game was released, right? Like this wouldn't be a reacquisition.
No, it's a reacquisition.
Oh, it is a reacquisition. You got rid of it.
Yes. I did. I stupidly got rid of it.
You love this game.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I do. And it holds up.
What prompted you to get rid of it?
So
Money, Jim.
It was money,
Filthy
yes.
money.
And filthy, disgusting. I want so much of it. So I ended up getting rid of this because I didn't have I wasn't aiming at the time for a video game collection.
Yeah, right.
And it was probably, and to be honest, it was probably one I sold in order to buy Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep.
Which is the third entry in this series, technically.
Yep.
Like, yeah, and as I said, like this game is birthed a whole slew of video games trying to emulate it. From like it had one sequel to itself, which was X-Men Legends 2: Rise of Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And then they expanded into the greater Marvel library with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And they also did I can't even remember the full name of it, but they did the online video game, like Marvel's version of DC Universe Online.
Yeah. Yep.
Marvel Heroes.
No, that was it. Yep. Marvel Heroes.
Marvel Heroes, and that too was this like pretty much this exact. It was in
very much the same style. Yep.
Style. Yeah. But,
wow. I think I'm going to say, would you think it's controversial? Because this is what I think. I think this is the best one.
Yes.
I think they did it best the first time, because I think the limiting it to the X-Men roster. Well, firstly, it was, I remember it most fondly because it was the first one, right? It was, like I said, I can't think of another game in that kind of style or genre that I had seen or played before X-Men Legends. So just having that, having that experience for the very first time was obviously very, that was like you hadn't done anything like that before. And secondly, I think limiting it to the X-Men roster worked a lot in its favor, because once they started blowing it out to Marvel as a whole, I feel like, like the sort of like the powers that you were getting for the characters didn't match the style of game that it was anymore. Like it's almost like kind of X-Men Diablo in a kind of like, if you squint a little bit, right? Like it's kind of that isometric action RPG.
I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah. And I just don't think characters like Spider-Man, for example, running around in corridors, like it just doesn't match the character, and that happened a lot. I remember that happening a lot in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It's like, what the fuck?
The wall crawler that can't wall crawl.
Yeah, right. So I had to ground bound him, and every now and then you could swing around, but it was janky as fuck. Mostly you were running around on foot, like the 1960s live action Spidey. I think limiting it to the X-Men, and obviously there were X-Men that the style of game didn't necessarily suit as well, but I think as a whole it worked better than it did the greater Marvel universe, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it did. It did, but Marvel Ultimate Alliance is my second favorite,
right,
out of like the 5 of them, if you include X-Men Legends 1, 2, and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 to 3.
Yep.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance is the one I've got the next most out of.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's still you can see it as you sort of. So when I got this, I sure as hell replayed through it.
Yeah.
And then when I finished it, and it's not a short game. It's got a lot to it. You get bang for your buck really with it. But it's and I jumped straight into Rise of Apocalypse because I acquired that shortly after while I was still playing this one.
Yes.
it was like I was having so much fun. I was like, I'm going to keep this ball rolling. And then I jumped into a little bit of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. 1, jumped in a little bit of number 2, and then a little bit of 3. And you can really tell the difference between Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and this one.
Right.
This coming out leagues fucking better,
Yeah.
mind you. Like it was, they were, yeah, it was just the focus is totally different gameplay wise.
Mm.
Like in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, they had sort of some secret areas, but you're very much on, particularly with number 3, you're railroaded. You are on train tracks. There's no open sort ofness to the world or
Yep.
the environments you're in. You can't get lost at all. You either go back the way you came or go forward. You can't get lost, and it's very limited in that regard. And there's no actual use for they really made it generic.
Yeah. Okay.
So that you can party up with literally anybody, and it works. And the story is just rather superfluous in Ultimate Alliance 3.
I don't think I played Ultimate Alliance 3 actually.
It's a grind game.
Yeah.
It's all about just leveling up your characters, collecting gear and crafting gems.
Yeah, okay.
That is it. It's just a massive grind fest for that. And
what system did that come out on?
that came out on
remember?
the Switch.
That was Switch. Okay, yep.
Switch. I don't know if it came out on anything else. I think it did.
Yeah, okay.
I think it did. It was a bit of a big deal that this game was coming out.
Yeah, because there'd been a huge
so
gap. It had been
two.
like a big break between 2 and 3, right?
Yeah. There was a huge break.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was I was super jazzed for it. I got it day one.
Yep.
That it came out, but and I played through the story with Sylvia, but it was just it's one of those games where the story doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
And it's just there to,
it's just window dressing.
Yes, yeah. You and it just wants.
So we got to slap some sort of plot in here somewhere, you know.
Yeah, and they just, and of course they recycled the MCU phase 1.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, phase 1, 2, and 3. The Thanos Infinity Gauntlet War.
Yeah.
But in X-Men Legends 1, environments were way more open. There was a lot more exploring to do. The environments were way bigger, and something they lost, which they really were awesome for having in the first game, and they lost it with each iteration more and more, was in the first game you could have whoever you wanted in your party.
Yeah.
But certain characters could act with certain elements in the environment. So, like, if you had Iceman, there were certain spots in the environment you could have him make an ice bridge. So you could you could just walk over these big, holes in the ground, these big chasms. Cyclops could weld metal sort of hole. Like, there's a level where you're in a ship that's capsizing, it's filling with water.
Right.
And so to delay the clock, you get Cyclops to weld shut with his visor. You can, to bide yourself time, you weld shut the holes that are causing the leaks. And that sort of thing is completely gone by now.
Yeah.
In the game.
The nuance, all the nuance to it.
Nuance. Yeah.
It's just numbers and attacks, and that's it. I think I've got a feeling that, like, the first time I played X-Men Legends was actually your copy that you lent me. I feel like that's back in the day. I feel like that's true for the GameCube. This was a GameCube exclusive. Is that right?
No, it wasn't. It was on other stuff.
Is it on Xbox
the
and
image of Wolverine's different.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, it was on Xbox. It was on PC, or at least the second one was.
Yeah.
So I think it came across 3 platforms, like Xbox, PlayStation 2, and Cube.
How did you reacquire this one? Was this like when you started, like, so you bought it, you played it, you loved it, but at the time you weren't exactly collecting. And just for the record, guys, if you're watching, like, I have some shit behind me here that's like bits and pieces that I remember fondly. Scott's like an actual proper fucking legit collector. Like one day Scott will, I'm trying to convince him to do like a collection video for the channel to show you his retro collection because it's impressive.
I need
but you weren't
hat.
at that stage back then because we were just like stupid fucking, young people back then.
No, like I literally ended up selling all my video game consoles bar my Sega Mega Drive 2.
Yep.
And the games I had with that.
Yep. Did you so when you were reacquiring, like when you decided to actually get into collecting and you were starting to put your collection together, did you stumble across this one, or was this one you were actively like, I want that and I'm going to go and find it, or did you just happen to chance across it?
I wanted it. And I hunted it down.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It was one I couldn't not hunt down and look for. Was it an eBay jobby? Yes. It was an eBay jobby. It passed my my requirements of an eBay jobby.
What's the requirements for an eBay job?
Well, it's got to for one, it's got to be in a proper official GameCube case.
Yep.
I have had people try and give me DVD cases.
Okay.
With GameCube games in, with their manuals and the sleeve and everything. It's just the case itself is a DVD case. So it's got to have the official GameCube case, which you can tell from the inside. It's got the logo. It's got to have a manual with one of these sorts of games.
Now you're not typically a big manual guy, or you haven't been until I started getting into it, and I sort of like I've corrupted you a little bit.
No, well. So what ended up happening with my transitioning into manuals is when it came to cases like this, I was always a manual guy.
Right. Okay.
Unless
it's got to have the manual if it's in a slim case.
If it's in a plastic case. Got to have the manual, unless having the manual means it's way out of my price range.
Right.
In which case I will settle for a carton case only.
Yeah. And to be fair, manuals are much easier to find for slim case games. Like they generally they're already there. You don't have to track them down really.
Yeah. But when I'm collecting games that originally came in cardboard boxes, like Nintendo stuff, earlier stuff prior to GameCube, the cardboard gets worn, it breaks, it gets creases, it gets faded, it gets scuffed, and it just sort of deteriorates over time. And and it was cheaper also just to go for a cart at the time when I started my collection. And so I just started going for loose carts.
Yep.
They were cheaper to get a hold of. I didn't have to worry about manuals or anything like that. I didn't have to worry about condition of boxes because I just didn't care.
Yeah.
So since then, I still don't care about the boxes. If it was originally a cardboard box, I'm upgrading them to custom cases.
Yep.
But now I am seeking manuals to go with them.
Yeah.
But my custom cases are for uniformity. They look nice on the shelf and they match and
they do look nice. Heights. They do look nice. I got to give you that. They do look good.
Yes, I will do a showcase one day.
Yes, it's coming.
Of the whole lot, and you'll see some of my custom cases.
Yep.
But yes, this was a when I started getting into collecting again, I started looking at all the ones that I got rid of that I regretted, and this was one of the ones at the top of the list.
Yep.
So I was
an active chase down that you found, and it looks like it's in good nick too.
It's in fantastic nick.
Yeah, it looks real good.
There's just the the natural wear you get when it's sliding in and out of a shelf with amongst all the others, but there's no punctures in the plastic. There's no stickers. Thank fuck. There's no stickers.
Yes, thank God.
It's in absolutely fantastic condition.
Nice one. Out of 10,
yeah.
Scott, what do you rate X-Men Legends
10 as a game.
as a game?
As a game. You know what? I've never given anything a 10 before, so I'll give it a 9.
You're so funny. Like Scott's 7 out of 10 is like most people's like 11 out of 10. He's so stingy. You're as tight as a fish's ass when it comes to like scoring things. You're like the fucking Russian judge at the Olympics. It's unreal.
But yeah, it's fucking fantastic. It
is good. Yeah, yeah. Do you think it holds up?
It does, except in only one regard, and that's clearly of the time, which is the graphics.
Yeah, right. Okay, you think they're showing their age a bit? Because
They
there's some
are
GameCube
showing
stuff
their
that still
age.
looks pretty good, I reckon. But
Oh yeah,
it was like
absolutely. There is a ton of it.
it had a big spectrum, the GameCube. Like there was stuff that like you see from the GameCube now, and it's still, you know, it looks old, but it still looks good. And there's stuff from the GameCube that you see now and go, Jesus fucking Christ! Like it had a real wide, you know, like
Yeah.
I think more so perhaps than a lot of. Well, I guess maybe it was just a product of every console and of that generation, where they were seeing how far they could push things, maybe, and some people pushed it further than others, a lot further than others, and some games hold up really well and some just don't in the visual department, I think. And I always think that when it comes to GameCube.
Like it absolutely does. Like the big issue, where the big part where I say it sort of slightly doesn't hold up is like during the levels and everything, like it uses sort of cell shaded graphics a little bit.
Yeah, okay,
That's all great. It is all cool. But when you go into your character, the characters to level them up, it gives you a closer look at them.
Yep.
And that's where rather than doing a whole new character model, they just enlarge the model that's actually on the screen during the actual gameplay. So you see a fuzzy pixeled
Jesus
close up version of the character. It's like when you look back and you squint, it's dead on Wolverine, but when you're looking close, it's like this is just a mishmash of navy blue and yellow, and
it's like, Wolvie, what have they done to you?
It looks like there's a scruffy guy there. It's a bit like that. It's a little bit like that. So it does show its age in that regard, but only in that regard. Like the gameplay is still freaking solid. It's still tough. Like, you know, even if you're well experienced, it's still very much challenging.
Yeah.
It's a fun co-op game, except when the two of you want to head off in different directions.
Yeah.
Then you have that little tug of war to go through
the screen pull. Yeah.
But and it has a freaking I got into this game when I grew up watching some of the 90s cartoon, the animated series, and I'd seen the first X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And I had a passing knowledge of X-Men. I could tell you they were mutants, and there's one called Wolverine who's angry.
Yeah.
And he wants to steal a douchebag's girlfriend. And the bad guy is cool with magnets.
Yeah.
So I had a passing knowledge, even though I did watch the X-Men animated cartoon. I was more,
you're like a periphery fan sort of thing.
Spider-Man one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just for some reason, every now and then in my life, I sort of enter a mood where I want to try something from a franchise that I don't really know much about, just to see what the big deal is. And X-Men was one of them. And I remember looking at I went into like a Game Traders at when we used to have them. And
Game
I saw
Traders,
on the
holy
I saw on the
shit.
shelf they had 2 X-Men games on GameCube.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had 2 X-Men games on the shelf. One of them was X-Men Next Dimension,
Okay.
and the other one was X-Men Legends. And the cover of Legends is what drew me to picking it.
Yeah, it's a cool cover. It is a
It
damn
just
good
looked
cover. Subtle, but just like it's just cool. It's just a cool cover.
It's and also one of my favorite villains of the X-Men franchise is Sentinels, and it had them
Oh
right
yes,
front and
yes.
center on the back.
Yep.
Um,
And you
So
saw that
I had to give it a go.
screenshot of the character menu on the top right there, and you're like, oh damn, I can't wait to get a piece of that character model on there.
Yeah,
I
oh,
can't wait
look
to see that.
Look, you can see the veins in his, his arms. Yeah, and I didn't know, and I have to say, like, it's for someone that didn't know much about X-Men at all. If you know nothing about them at all, other than like they're mutant superheroes and it's a franchise you want to get into, you can do a hell of a lot worse than playing this game.
Yes.
This game I thought was a fucking perfect introduction to that whole world.
Yeah.
And it's rife with comic book like knowledge of history. Like there's there's like the hub area between levels is the X Mansion, and there's a room in there with a computer that gives you trivia.
Mm-hmm.
And all the trivia is actually from the comic books, like the in-universe comic books. So it gives you like multiple choice questions on, what's the secret identity of Gambit, and it gives you like 4 options to pick, and it tells you when you get it wrong. But through doing that, I learned so much about the universe and like all the characters, the relationships between the two. Like one of the questions was who is the brother of Cyclops? And it goes through the list, and the answer is Havoc. But I didn't even know he had a brother.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And I
down
found
the rabbit hole you go.
Down the rabbit hole I go. I found out Juggernaut is Xavier's half brother, and he's actually not a freaking mutant at all. He just got his powers from a freaking ruby.
Right.
Well, I think he's been retconned now that he is a mutant.
Okay.
But back in the day, no, Magic Ruby.
Magic Ruby does it every time.
Does it every time.
I take 3 a day.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was such a freaking awesome game, and it's one of 2 video games I remember experiencing in my life where I'm playing it and I've spent hours in it. I'm really far into it, but I'm just enjoying it so much. I've actually caught myself thinking like, oh man, I really hope this doesn't end soon.
Yep. Yeah.
And like I'm fully anticipating the ending, and boy was I freaking wrong, because I was like only about halfway through the game at that point.
Which is good.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
when you've got that feeling of like, oh man, it's like a good book, right? And you can see you getting close to the end, and you're like, fuck. But with a game, you just don't really know,
No, not at all. And like it was just, you could clearly see it's a for the developers of it, it was a freaking a passion project.
Yeah.
Like they've got like they have the X-Men's famous danger room in there, which allows you to activate simulations or challenge missions, where it's like a single level with a prerequisite. Usually, sometimes even comes with like select characters you have to play to get through that level. They got levels like in that, and in like the story mode where they go back into the past, and it's like first class.
Oh yeah,
where it's like the original X-Men, but they're like Beast looks human. He just looks like a wrestler.
Yep.
And they're wearing the classic blue
the yellow
and yellow duds.
Yep.
Yeah. It was just full of amazing like throwbacks to all the X-Men lore up until that point. Really, like you get to play a mission as like Weapon X busting out of the military outpost. You get to shoot shitloads of sentinels and go through, or like even in other dimensions and stuff. Yeah, it's a freaking fantastic game. And if anyone is
a solid 9 out of 10 by the sounds of it.
It is. Well, all right, fine. I'll upgrade it to a 10.
Oh, no, his first 10 ever. It's his favourite game of all time, everybody. You heard it here. Favourite game of all time. Scott, he's never given a 10 to anything in his life. Anything. He doesn't even give his like fucking kids a 10 out of 10. He's given this a 10 out of 10. First thing ever.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's freaking fantastic.
It is a good one. And I think it also came along in like a real, we hadn't seen many really good superhero games when X-Men Legends came out. There'd been a few a few choice good ones here and there, but we weren't exactly like flooded with them. And so this one sort of came in and like really, like, hey, here's a really fucking good superhero game. I think I'd probably, like I said, I have played it. I haven't played it since you lent it to me way back in the day. I'm not the biggest X-Men fan. I certainly am a bigger X-Men fan now than I was back then. I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10 myself personally, just because of when I played. I think I'd enjoy it more now than I did when I played it then. It was really fun co-op. But I think when I played it back then, I probably compared it unfavorably to Diablo, right?
Probably. It is very Diablo-esque.
Yeah, and
and I know how you feel about Diablo.
That's right. I'm a big Diablo fan. And so, like, it just kind of, for me at the time, didn't stack up. But I think now, if they remastered this, I'd be fucking all over it. How good would that be? If they just kept it just as it is, but just gave it a nice new lick of paint.
Lick of paint. Actually let you see
things.
All the detail of the characters.
Give us the character model in the fucking character screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one, and it'd go hard, especially with the X-Men 97 having just been released. Marvel's just reacquired the cinematic rights to X-Men. We're going to see that pop up everywhere. Like, if they were ever going to do a remaster of this game, like in the very near future, is when they really need to crack on. And I think it would be awesome. I personally think. And as long as they don't go the Ultimate Alliance 3 route with it, just keep it as it is.
Stay the fuck away from that.
Yeah, just leave that alone. Just keep this just how it is, and just make it look nice. And it'd be awesome.
Because it wasn't about finishing the story and then replaying it to level up your characters. Once you finish the story, that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, that's it. I don't tend to go back and replay games very often at all, if ever. This is one that has always kind of been in the back of my head of like, man, I wish I could have another shot at it, because like I said, I just don't think I gave it its dues when I first, I had fun playing it with you. But I think I would enjoy it a hell of a lot more now than I did then. And I kind of wish I could have another run at it, One day we'll make it happen. Anyway, there we go. X-Men Legends, legendary game in and of itself. An absolute banger. If you haven't played it, I don't know how you would now. It wouldn't be easy to do. But if you did play it back in the day, make sure you drop us a comment and let us know some memories you have of it, if you liked it, how much you liked it, if it is better than Scott's Kids as a 10 out of 10 game. It is. Otherwise, that's going to do it for this particular episode of Collecting Retro, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. My name's been Jamie Dean.
And I'm Scott.
And we'll catch you on the next one. Keep on side-scrolling. Take it easy.